So welcome back, and I was just saying as we were remarking on earlier this morning, these moments of transition, as Saki was highlighting for us, provide these really amazing opportunities to become aware of what is the nature of our mind. And so we have that opportunity right now as we return back from what we call a break, but really is just this continuous flow of experience of this day, to just bring your awareness back into the room with your body as you're sitting down, and just take a moment to notice sitting. Notice the sensations of your body on the chair, your feet on the floor. Notice any thoughts or images of anticipation, any holding on to conversations that you were just having, any emotions that are present. And I'll ask and invite you as we begin to, as best you can, just let all of that begin to fade into the background and bring your attention to the experience of really engaging in this material that I will be talking about. So inviting you to open your eyes if your eyes are closed, or because this work for me is work that I started doing in the area of depression probably 15 years ago now, and then focusing specifically on this population of women during pregnancy and postpartum over the last 8 years, basically. And I'm noticing my slides before I get into the details. I should disclose to you that I have no conflicts of interest. Although I do have a big conflict, you could call it a conflict of interest, which is a lot of passion for this work. So it's not a conflict, but it's definitely not unbiased. So what I want to talk to you about today is this problem of depression during pregnancy and postpartum. And I want to do that to set the context and sort of the stage for the particular application of a mindfulness-based intervention. And I'm going to be talking about specifically mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. And I'm curious, I've had a chance to meet some of you, but not all of you yet. So just for like a show of hands, how many of you either teach or do research on MBSR? Great. And how many of you either teach or do research on MBCT, mindfulness-based cognitive therapy? Okay, great. So that's helpful for me to know, and as we embark together. I'm going to talk about MBCT in terms of like what's the theory of change, what's the evidence base, and then to give you somewhat of an idea, and it'll really just be a brief taste of what are some of the core elements of the intervention. And then I'll turn to talking about our work, specifically extending the MBCT model to women who are at risk during pregnancy and postpartum. And I want to say, it was on my title opening slide, but this work is a huge collaborative effort, most principally with my dear friend and colleague, collaborator Cheryl Goodman at Emory University. So as well as a whole community of other people, and I'll talk about them as we go through. But when I'm referring to we, this really is a group effort. So I want to start with this question, like, why should we focus on depression during pregnancy and postpartum? Amishi showed that slide that, showed there's a host of experiences of suffering, difficulty, challenge, pain that people experience across the life cycle. Why narrow that lens to the experience of depression at this particular life cycle stage? And I want to say, as I'm raising that question, that when I talk about depression, I'm talking in this presentation about the experience of what we in the clinical area call major depression, which requires at least 5 of these experiences listed here, including at least one of the first 2, and certain thresholds in terms of how often and how long and how severe and impairing these types of experiences have to be. So when I use the word depression, just so that we're all on the same page, this is what I'm talking about. And what we know is that depression is a major public health problem in the US and actually worldwide. It's a leading cause of disability. But depression is not blind to gender. So women have twice the rate of depression as men, and that the peak prevalence of depression occurs during the childbearing years for women, resulting in the fact that depression during pregnancy and postpartum has, this is a quote from the US Department of Health and Human Services, a fairly mainstream neutral body, which says that depression is one of the most common complications of prenatal and postpartum periods. It's approximately 10 to 15% of women experience major depression, which if you look at the number of births per year, translate into about 500,000 women per year experiencing this during this important life cycle transition. Now, depression during pregnancy and postpartum is important not just because it's common, but also because it's associated with a whole host of adverse correlates and consequences. So this slide here just shows you in broad outline some of the primary negative correlates and consequences that occur for women as well as the fetus with depression during pregnancy. So we have problems with social support, poor health behaviors, prenatal care among women who are depressed during pregnancy is noticeably poorer than non-depressed women. Stress, substance use, marital problems, a range of psychopathologies, and risk for future depression. Now, these are correlates and consequences that are focusing more on the mother, but what we also know from really interesting emerging research is that there are important consequences for the fetal development when a mother is depressed during pregnancy. So a recent paper that documented increased rates of both preterm labor and low birth weight among women who are depressed during pregnancy. Lower fetal weight rate, greater heart rate increases in response to maternal stress. So these are experiences of the fetus when the mother is depressed during pregnancy. But one of the things we also know is that depression during pregnancy is a potent predictor of being depressed during the postpartum period as well. And so the infant, the neonate, when born, is therefore exposed to the exposure to the fetal environment during gestation, as well as, for many women, the experience of ongoing depression. And we see in newborns, across infancy, and in studies going up through middle childhood, enduring negative correlates and consequences of having lived with a mom who's been depressed during this time period.